Hey guys, it's Gaz. Welcome to the Warframe video. So today we're going to have a how to play Limbo guide. So we're going to go over all of his abilities, even though you don't normally use all of his abilities in all situations. We're also going to go over some pain points from players I polled over the weekend about what is making them get annoyed by Limbo. Because if you didn't know this, Limbo is one of the frames that is very divisive in the community. People get really annoyed when there's a Limbo in the squad, even if he's not doing anything annoying. But yeah, we're going to try to rectify those issues and teach you how to play Limbo correctly so you are preventing people getting angry at you. Because trust me, it does happen, even to me, even when I'm not even using his abilities, okay? So let's quickly go over what is going on here. And a really big element of his kit, guys, is his passive ability and the Rift in general. So I have basically a Cliff Notes version of that on the screen right now. So his passive, the Rift. So it's basically another plane of existence. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. We'll be going over a bit more with his other abilities. But basically, think of it as another layer in the level. So all the enemies and all the normal mission stuff is on the first layer. And then the Rift is like another layer that's separate to that material plane. I'll be referring to the other, like the actual level, as the material plane from now on. And his second layer of like where everything is as the Rift, because that's what it's referred to in the game. So people in the material plane cannot interact with people in the Rift, and vice versa. If I'm in the Rift and there's enemies in the material plane, I can't touch them, they can't touch me, unless it's a very specific situation. So also, Limbo does not have a normal roll, so if you hit your shift key by default, you do a roll normally, but with Limbo, you actually jump forward, you enter the Rift, and you put a portal to the Rift behind you, where you just were. Additionally, if a nullifier touches you with his bubble while you are in the Rift, he will push you out of the Rift and you'll be back in the material plane. He's probably just going to one-shot you. Additionally, you get 2 energy regeneration per second while in the Rift. This also applies to your allies. And every enemy killed in the Rift will grant 10 energy per kill. So, really good energy economy there. You don't even need like energy siphon or anything to regenerate energy with Limbo. So let's quickly display that. So here I am right now. I'm using the Limbo Deluxe skin, which just came out recently. It looks really good. So I'm going to push the shift key once to do my roll. And I jump into the Rift, and this portal is behind me. My teammate can walk into that portal to enter the Rift with me. There's other ways to put your teammates into the Rift. But for example, let's spawn some enemies, and I will show you that we cannot damage them, they cannot damage us. So the entire kit here is going to be revolving around making sure that you can pull enemies into the Rift when you want to, or make it so they cannot hurt the objective that's in the Rift. Because your main objective as Limbo is to make enemies not able to kill the objective or your teammates. So very important to get a grasp on what the Rift is and what the material plane is for these abilities. Because all of his abilities revolve around that, guys. Alright, so now that we have his first ability out of the way, well, it's basically his passive, but it technically feels like an ability. Alright, let's kill those enemies. We'll be moving on to his first ability, which is called Banish. So, what Banish does is you target an enemy or an ally, and it pushes that enemy or ally basically from whatever plane they're currently in. So if they're in the material plane, it will push them into the opposite plane. So it'll push them from material to the Rift, and if there's an enemy in the Rift, you can push them into the material plane. So it's never going... You can't target an enemy that's not currently in the same plane as you, with this ability. So if there's an enemy in the material plane and you are in the Rift, you will need to leave the Rift to target that specific enemy with your Banish. Same goes for if there's an enemy currently in the Rift and you had already left the Rift, you would need to re-enter the Rift to push that guy out of the Rift with your Banish. Okay, it has a guaranteed knockdown. Doesn't really come into play very often, but you can do some cheese builds with that. And it works in an AoE, but it's a cone, which is really annoying. I really wish it was like a circular radius around where you target, but it's actually like a cone. So we'll quickly display that. This is basically a way you can bring your allies into the Rift. This is also a way you can bring your enemies into the Rift. Let's just pause them so it's easier to show the cone in action here. Alright, so I'm going to use my first ability, Banish, when we just mentioned. So see, that was a cone. The guy right next to him did not go into the Rift. But there's like this black smoke effect on these guys. That means they were pushed into the Rift. And now I can't target him with the one anymore, the Banish. I would need to enter the Rift to do the same thing to push him out. So let's do that again. Those guys are back in the material plane. Can't target them. I can still target the guy behind him because he was still in the Rift. Okay, that's basically it. This also works on teammates. Does the exact same thing on teammates besides the knockdown, of course. And yeah, making sure you utilize this to keep yourself safe so enemies can't touch you. Really important as a good Limbo player. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and unpause these guys so we can display what his second ability does, which is one of his most important abilities, guys. Alright, let's go over Stasis. So what Stasis does is it basically makes you Dio, so you can stop time, but for a lot longer than Dio can actually do it. So stop enemy movement and projectiles while in the rift. This is his second ability. So it has no effect outside of the rift. So enemies in the rift will become frozen, like movement-wise, and the projectiles will stop moving as well. It will also freeze status effects, so if you have a slash proc currently on an enemy, and then you use the stasis on them while the slash proc is effective, it will keep ticking until they leave the stasis effect. It's pretty cool. It basically freezes the status. Also viral. That viral proc's gonna be on them the entire time that they're frozen in stasis. So I personally feel like this ability should always be active when there are enemies in the rift with you, because you normally don't run Limbo with defensive mods. And making sure all the enemies are frozen in time so you can just insta-kill them, or not insta-kill them, but kill them, really important. And this also has an extremely long casting animation. One of the longest casting animations in the entire game, besides his 4. So yeah, I definitely recommend Natural Talent. Maybe even Speed Drift if you want to put both of them on there. Very important ability though. Let's quickly go over how it works. We'll just be using his first ability and his second ability together. We'll be going into the other ones after this. Alright, so we're going to unpause these enemies. Let's hope that we don't get one shot here, because I'm going to be not in the rift when I'm doing this. So we'll take that bombard. Those guys are in the rift. We use our second. They are frozen in time. These guys outside of the rift, it does nothing to them. But they are, like, these guys aren't paused anymore. I can push the ability again to unpause them, but then I'm going to push it again quickly, because that guy's about to kill me, to freeze them again. So yeah, Natural Talent makes the casting animation a lot faster. And yeah, pretty good ability overall, guys. Let's quickly bring these guys into the rift so they're frozen. See, I put them in the rift, frozen. It's going to last until my duration's up, so I got 15 more seconds-ish until they are unfrozen again, but they'll still be in the rift. Okay, so that's the general consensus on that one. So basically, you're going to be using that ability to defend objectives almost all the time. I basically always have that ability up when I'm playing Limbo. I consider it one of his most valuable abilities. So let's go over one of his least valuable abilities, in my opinion. That is Rift Surge. So, quick disclaimer here, guys. I used to never use this ability. I wanted to make sure that I got a grasp on how it worked for this video, so I could give you the best information. So I forced myself to use this ability over the last couple days, even though I have played Limbo for multiple years, and I've never really used this ability. So I forced myself to do it. I'm not going to really recommend that you force yourself to do that, to use this ability, because I don't find it as useful as it should be. Although the augment mod for this thing is really good. Alright, so let's quickly go over this. Nearby enemies that are currently in the rift will be affected by swirling energy. So when you cast this, there needs to be an enemy in the rift. If there's no enemies in the rift, you can't cast this. That's the first point. If an affected enemy by this ability leaves the rift, the effect of this ability ends, but it will cause a nearby enemy that enemy and other nearby enemies to enter the rift. So you have a guy in the rift, you affect him with his ability, he leaves the rift, and basically he'll re-enter the rift immediately, and enemies around him will also enter the rift. Killing an enemy under this effect will transfer the surge to a material plane enemy. So if you kill an enemy affected by this in the rift, it will take that, like the effect of that ability, and push that ability to somebody else outside of the rift. So that's basically to keep it so you can keep having enemies enter the rift without needing to leave the rift yourself, so you can stay safe. You can combo this with banishment to put enemies into the rift while still in there yourself. See, this is the big thing, guys. This is the big thing people don't realize about this ability, and I also didn't realize this about this ability for a long time. If you use his 3 an enemy already in the rift, and you banish that guy, so you basically would push him out of the rift, because that's what banish does when you target someone in the rift already, it will make him immediately re-enter the rift, and it basically will just let you stay safe in the rift and pulling more guys in there with you. And if you have your 2 up, they're frozen, so it's really good. And then, like I mentioned, the augment for this ability, really strong. It's called Rift Torrent. Let's quickly, can I not link that? It might be called something else, not Rift Torrent. We're going to take a quick look in the arsenal what that's called. But basically what it does is, for every enemy affected by this ability, it makes it do more, or it makes you do more damage in the rift with weapons and his abilities. So 30% extra damage for each enemy affected by Rift Surge while in the Rift. And that is affected by power strength, guys. So if you'd like do a high power strength build on Limbo, oh man, it's like completely unnecessary damage, but it sure is hilarious looking. You can get like 1,000+% damage on Limbo with this this mod. I don't normally run this, but I used to run this all the time. Back right when Plains of Eidolon came out, I used to love this. This was like one of my favorite loadouts. But then Limbo was bugged for Plains of Eidolon, and he'd actually make the objectives not complete, so I ended up stopped playing him for a bit. But yeah, let's quickly display how that works. These guys are not paused. Sweet. Alright, so we have to first get a guy to go into the rift with us, because like I said, we can't have it. It doesn't do anything we're not in the rift. This guy's perfect. So now we're going to use our 3. See, he's got this swirling energy around him. If he leaves the rift, he pulled those guys in with him. So now these guys are in the rift. I literally did not leave the rift at all there. And if I had enough energy to cast it again, here, I do actually. So I'm going to recharge these guys. If they leave the rift, that guy is going to get pulled in because he's right there. And if I kill one of them, it's actually going to transfer it to that guy. Let's see if I can do that. Yep, see? He's got the swirling energy around him now. It's literally working exactly as I said. And now we banish that guy. He's in the rift with us. He's frozen. We can fight him, no problem. Yeah, like when these guys are frozen, you can just use your weapons on them, like no problem. See, this guy's not in the rift with us. That's like the main problem I have with this ability is like the fact that it transfers the charge to someone outside of the rift. I just don't understand like the real point in that. But overall, like if you're already in the rift and you have some enemies in the rift with you, it's a pretty good ability in my opinion. But not one that I normally use, and I wouldn't really recommend it too heavily. Alright, so now we've gotten over 3 of his abilities. Let's go over the last one. And that is the big bubble that you've probably seen if you've ever seen a Limbo before. Cataclysm. So you target an area, you create a bubble at the targeted area, and within the bubble is the rift. So if you've been paying attention, the rift, his other layer of the level that he creates, that bubble will shrink over the duration. Let's actually just quickly throw that out. That's the bubble we have with this build, that purple bubble. It's going to shrink over the duration. You can reactivate the bubble to detonate it immediately, and that will destroy it, but cause damage inside. So it takes both range and duration into account when you're calculating how quickly it shrinks. So there's lots of weird math involved with how his bubble works. I'm going to link the wiki down in the description if you want a very particular build. But the builds we have here, guys, they're really good for most of the content in the game. The only build I don't really have here is a super high range, max duration index build. But I normally don't really run Limbo for the index anyway, although he is good there. His abilities do freeze the index enemies, and there's people who do John Prodman runs with Limbo all the time, okay? So, enemies take damage upon entering the bubble. Also, damage is done when the bubble is created and destroyed. So, the big thing is that detonation of the bubble can destroy containers, guys. So we actually have a special build for Limbo to destroy containers and get loot from syndicate missions. Okay, so I'll be going over that after we're done with the Cataclysm overview. So as you see, our bubble is gone, the duration ended, and the bubble collapsed. It's gone, no longer there. So this Cataclysm is going to be your main defense objective tool. Your Stasis ability and your Cataclysm, your main abilities here, in my opinion. So you can use the bubble even when you're in the rift, no problem. So I'm going to preface this. We're going to first use our Stasis to freeze time in the rift. And now we're going to use our bubble, pull all these guys in the rift with us, and literally everyone in our bubble is under our control. They can't do anything. This is where I'm not going to really use my third ability. So we can just like do whatever we want to these guys. They're basically just dead. And like if enemy like runs towards us, they'll get stuck in the rift and they will become frozen as well. So see, it's shrinking. She's about to leave. Let's use our 3 on her, so when she leaves the rift, she'll re-enter the rift. So see, she's outside of the range of the bubble right now, but she is still in the rift. So even when she's not in the bubble, we can shoot her. See? Not in the bubble. And part of being a good Limbo, guys, is making sure that you are making it so you're not preventing your teammates from doing the objective, but you're also keeping the objective safe at the same time. Okay? Yeah. So overall, really good defensive frame. Let's go over a quick combat situation that we would have. So let's pretend this middle pillar is an objective we're trying to protect. We would first throw our bubble on there with Stasis. And basically we would just chill in here. If enemies get close to it, we can just kill them on the edge. We can actually even charge them with our 3 if we want to pull enemies close to them into the rift. And see, we can just like kill them as they get close. If this guy gets close enough, he's going to get pulled in. See, they're trying to shoot us, but they're outside the rift, so they're not going to do anything. Alright, now they were stupid enough to walk in, and they're dead. And you would just make sure you're watching your cooldown. See, my stasis was about to go down. I'd make sure that I can actually deactivate it when I have a safe moment and reactivate it immediately. And you also want to make sure your cataclysm is up. So having the good range and duration mix is going to be really helpful depending on which mission type you're running. So let's go over some of the builds we have now that we've gone over a combat situation of how you'd normally be playing Limbo. Alright, so build we're doing right now. This is the build I'm going to recommend for not like super endgame players. They're playing Kuva Survival up to like an hour-ish. This is basically a all-around build. The reason you don't want mega high range for Kuva Survival is because if you have a really high range bubble, and you're also using your stasis, which you should be always using, it's gonna freeze enemies in the hallways. And if your teammates don't go and find them, or if you don't go find them, it's gonna make your kills per second very low, and you're gonna run out of air, guys. So you need to not have a max range build for these survival missions. Because, like I said, kills per second, very important, so enemies will drop life support, and you can continue the mission. So we got natural talent, very important here. We have an actual rank 6 narrow-minded. So if we were to go max rank on this narrow-minded, it would make our range go down, but we'd also get more duration. So I personally found that this much was good with this much range because it gives you like a good amount of area you can walk around the life support tower, and it also lets your teammates, like, you have room. You're not just like all cramped in one little small space. And it's also not high enough range that's actually going to be disrupting the flow of enemies into the mission. So this will be great for your purposes. I don't have any prime mods in here. If you do have the prime mods, of course you could just throw them on there. But this is just supposed to be an accessible build for everyone. Vigilante Pursuit, if you didn't know this, enemy radar actually helps a ton in survival missions for getting kills per second. So I'm going to recommend some amount of enemy radar when you are bringing a build to Kuva Survival. Okay, so that's the entry-level build. We have also a sortie build for basically soloing mobile defense missions sorties. So this one has really low range. And the reason we have low range in this one, guys, is because nullifier bubbles. If you know what a nullifier is, it's the corpus enemy with the bubble around himself, usually blue. If it's a corrupted version, it's like yellow. If an enemy of that type touches our bubble, it's gone. We are screwed. We are basically dead if that enemy comes close to us. Nullifiers are Limbo's worst enemy. That's why we have a really low range build here. See, we have like narrow-minded max rank. It will make our bubble very tiny, and that's actually good for us here. So that's the max range it's going to be. It's going to shrink over time. And that's just enough for us to protect the objective without having enough. Because if a nullifier gets close to us, usually his aggro range where he starts shooting is further than the range of this bubble. So we'll actually be able to just like kind of cheese the nullifier in any corpus mission. Because against the Grenier and the Infested, Limbo really has a pretty easy time. Because there's no nullifiers there, nothing will negate his abilities. Okay, so that's the sortie build. Rolling Guard also really good here. As you know, like, Limbo's invincible in the Rift to non-Rift enemies. So when we dodge again, like when we're leaving the Rift, we get 3 seconds of invincibility. So we can kill like as many enemies as we can in 3 seconds while we're invincible in the material plane, and then dodge again to enter the Rift again, and then we're invincible. So it's basically permanent invincibility if you get used to the playstyle, which not everybody does. I'm not a huge fan of this playstyle because I actually use mobility, or I use rolling in my mobility combinations. So I personally don't always run this, but it is extremely powerful with Limbo, more so than a lot of other frames. Okay, so natural talent, again, like I mentioned. Lightning Dash, just because you don't really want to run defensive mods on Limbo, or really power strength for this build specifically, so I just wanted to go faster in my sortie missions and complete them faster. And then, finally, we have the Loot Explosion build. So this is a really weird looking build, I know, but trust me, it works really well. So what the idea of this build is, guys, is you go into your syndicate missions for the day, and you're hunting down those quintessences, seeds, metals, whatever the heck they're called for your syndicate. What this does, as we mentioned briefly earlier, Cataclysm, his 4, like the bubble, exploding causes object damage and can break containers. So what we do is we basically go max efficiency, really low duration and strength, and then we also have like maxed out range. This is one of the times I'm going to recommend maxed out range. So what we do is we go and we find like a big area of loot. We throw our 4 and we detonate it immediately. We basically double tap 4. That will make the bubble explode and cause damage. Look how fast it shrinks with our 17% duration. So basically we're just going to roll through the level. We see a big group of loot, blow it up. Moving on, get our vacuum to suck it all up. Keep moving on, just keep blowing stuff up throughout the level, guys. It's really effective, and it'll make your syndicate missions, getting all the seeds, extremely quick. Trust me, I've done 100 plus of those missions with Limbo. He is the best frame for it. I've ran Nyx, I've ran Equinox, I've ran a ton of other frames for that. I've ran Cora. Cora is really good, she has a lot of loot radar, but this is the best one overall. You know, make sure you're running loot detector to see the loot on the map, and you could even run Thieves' Wit if you wanted to. But I personally am not running that right now, just because I want more range. So yeah, guys, those are the main 3 builds I use for Limbo. I also, like I said, there's a Rift Torrent build that I'll use. There's also the, I don't have the Banish Augment anymore. Oh, I do. Okay. So this is another one. His first ability, like I said, it can target allies. This will heal them. I never really use this, but if you want to make your allies not mad at you for banishing them, you can actually just use this, and maybe they'll be less mad at you. Be like, I'm healing you. I don't think it's going to really work out that well, but, you know, you could try. So let's quickly go over some pain points that I have gotten from other players on Limbo. So here are basically some tips and tricks to not make people hate you as Limbo. So I had a couple people say, using a high range Cataclysm in public matchmaking, it's making it hard to shoot. Because like we mentioned a bunch of times earlier, you can't shoot an enemy in a different plane than you. So that also works for your allies. So if they are in the Rift and the enemies are in the material plane, they can't shoot them either, guys. So you gotta definitely make sure you're paying attention to that stuff. And I also didn't mention this earlier, but DPS frames like Mesa and Saryn, they can actually damage stuff outside the Rift. But those players said they don't want to be required to play DPS frames when there's a Limbo in the squad, and I totally understand that. You shouldn't be forced to play Mesa or forced to play Saryn just because a Limbo has a high range build and he's making it so you can't really shoot stuff without making it a problem for yourself. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't run max range unless you really have to. Randomly getting banished when there's no real reason to have that happen. This hasn't happened to me a lot, but just general rule of thumb, guys, I would say don't banish another player unless they ask for it, okay? I know you're trying to help most of the time, but people just get annoyed. You can actually tell your allies they can leave the Rift, or they can leave the banish by rolling themselves, but yeah, that's not going to really make them less angry in most cases. They're just going to be like, well, don't banish me in the first place. So, yeah, I'd say wait until someone tells you they're okay with you banishing them before you do it, okay? Using Cataclysm to knock them out of the hacking during a sortie mission. So, yeah, you can't hack in the Rift. So if you throw your Cataclysm bubble into a rescue area, people can't hack in there unless they're an operator. In operator form, you can hack in the Rift, guys. Although, technically, the operator never even enters the Rift, but that's some pretty high mechanical stuff right there that we're not going to get into. Basically, don't use your Cataclysm while you're in a sortie rescue mission in the jail chamber. Or you're going to make people angry, and you might actually fail the mission. And the last one, specific bad stories involving Limbo players being a troll. See, I actually have a lot of stories about players being like this, specifically Limbo players for some reason. Like, one of them off the top of my head, I had a Limbo player, we were in a mobile defense mission, public matchmaking. He just grabbed the data mass and refused to put into the terminal. So he literally was holding us hostage there, and I just ended up, like, leaving. Actually, no, he ended up leaving. He tried to leave with the data mask, though, and it didn't work. He just dropped it when he left. So, yeah, it just seems like a lot of Limbo players are more inclined to troll than others for some reason. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but maybe they're just mad that people have been, like, mean to them for so long, and they're trying to get back at people. So, yeah, those are most of the problems I've seen there. So, basically, to solve these, don't run a max rank or max range Cataclysm build. Don't banish other players unless they say it's okay. Don't use Cataclysm when someone's hacking, and then just don't be a troll. There you go, guys. You are now a loved Limbo player that will be very valuable to your team. So let's quickly go over some stuff that could make Limbo even stronger. So I'm actually going to be using Magus Lockdown here, which I've been using over the last couple of days with Limbo, and man, it's really good, guys. I actually don't know what build we have on right now. Oh, we have the low range build. Okay, so basically, is this the low range build? Yeah, it is. Okay, so these enemies are in the Rift. If you don't want to use Rift Torrent, you actually can use Magus Lockdown, and it works outside of the Rift, guys. Let's quickly show what Magus Lockdown is, if you guys didn't know. So, you can dash to link enemies. Oh, it's actually bugged to link a bunch of enemies right now, not just 8. And it explodes after 4 seconds, dealing 60% of their health as puncture. So that's really good, because Limbo doesn't normally do damage, really. So, someone's ringing my doorbell. I found that Magus Lockdown's really good, because you can actually spam this. See? This guy's got a bunch of tethers on him now. He's going to take a bunch of damage. So, you can actually freeze guys in the Rift, and then just start tethering them all over the place. And they're going to start taking damage. You can also shoot them while this is happening. Really good combination. So yeah, I'm going to recommend Magus Lockdown with Limbo. And that's basically it, guys. I hope this video was helpful to you. It's a lot of information, but I tried to make it as easy to understand as possible. But like I said, in the Rift, you can have a Mesa shooting things, you can have a Saryn melting things, you can even have an Atlas punching things. Atlas and Limbo is one of my favorite combinations. And yeah, I'd say just use a melee weapon to kill enemies at the edge of your Rift, use a powerful shotgun, Amprex, whatever, and you'll have a pretty good time. So I definitely recommend him. Limbo Prime looks awesome, by the way, and I really like this deluxe skin. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace.